It's been a month of merry Mezco madness at the Warshaw House, with a rumbly rider, a magnetic mutant, and a bodacious bat. We're going to dive into all of that momentarily, but first, Mezco also opened pre-orders for their 112 Collective 1989 Batman figure, and it sure looks like a beauty. I got my pre-order in after much strife, with site timeouts and payment failures abounding. Even with an unbearable load on their online store, Mezco still managed to sell out of pre-orders in about 6 hours. Fear not though, if you want one, you can still create a waitlist order. That way, if folks who pre-ordered cancel or fail to pay, you may get bumped up and score one for yourself. Oh yeah, also it's $110, so ask your butler for an advance on your allowance, take out your bat-themed charge card, and make it happen. Toy Fair is fast approaching, and while I'm excited about a number of things, my curiosity is trained on Mcfarlane Toys and their relaunch of DC's Multiverse line of figures. They released details and photos of the debut figures a few weeks ago, and they look very impressive, covering a wide range of comics and shows. Figures are partitioned in sets, and each set's figures come with parts to build a vehicle. The figures will retail between $19.99 and $24.99, and the release date is still yet to be revealed. So, this handsome little skull-headed Rumble Society rider has nothing to do with any comic that I'm aware of. But when I saw him go up for sale on Mezco's site, I knew I had to have him. I just love the squat, beefy design, the skull face, and the swappable blaster cannon arm, which can be stored inside the head when not in use. He may not be an actual comic book character, but don't you think he looks like he could be? This sort of goofy, imaginative aesthetic is right up my alley, and if there was a Rumble Society comic, I would sure check it out. So, am I glad I bought this thing? Absolutely, and I'm still thinking about buying the variant too. I would rather not determine how much money I've spent on Mezco's 112 line in the past year, but I know it's been a fair bit. It seems like they're coming out with another awesome figure every month, and it's hard for me to pass them by. Magneto went up for pre-order last year, and I went for it. I've always liked the character's design, and he's always been a bright spot in film too, at least in my opinion. And once I started reading comics in 2013, he quickly became a standout on the page as well. The Magneto 112 has all of the standard 112 appointments, a real fabric costume that mostly hides the figure's joints, lots of articulation, and a slew of accessories. He also has posing wires in the edges of his cape, as well as in the portion by his neck. Coupled with the extended posing arm, it's pretty easy to make it look like he's floating in the air, judging Homo sapiens and wrecking people with metal. Speaking of which, 2 of the interchangeable hands have real magnets embedded, so if you want to chuck a few push pins or nails on there and have Magneto intimidate the rest of your collection, you have that option as well. I do generally like Mezco's fabric costumes, but if I'm being honest, I'm not nuts about what they came up with for Magneto here. Some vinyl elements or something might have been a nice way to break up the large swaths of red, but I think the biggest issue is that I believe I would like it if the suit was a bit tighter. I like Magneto looking fairly muscular, and this suit isn't helping that happen. Overall though, I really do like the figure. The magnet hands are a whole lot of fun, a similar delight to Darkseid's glowing eyes or Jon Stewart's ring-activated power battery. The wire cape takes a bit of work to get just so, but it is vastly preferable to the clunky cape posing arms that came with my Batmans and Moon Knight. Am I glad I bought it? Yes. If I had held it and looked at the costume first, I might have thought it over a bit longer, but in the end, I would have bought it anyway. I'd also love to see them do white and black variants of this one too. Batman 89 remains a pretty significant pillar in the history of the Dark Knight, and really, of course it should. For all of the complaints you might lodge about it today, some fair, others less so, it represented a seismic shift in the public's understanding of who Batman is, and it paved the way for what has been a pretty successful film franchise since. At last year's Toy Fair, Mezco revealed a few new 89-based toys. We've already discussed the 112, but if I'm honest, I think I was even more excited to get my hands on the Mezco Designer Series Deluxe Batman, and now I've got it. So what's the appeal? See for yourself. The basic shtick here is a cartoonishly small body topped with an impressively real yet caricatured take on Batman's head. There's a 66 in the works too, which I will have. This guy also has a thumb wheel on the back of his head, which allows you to pose his eyes. Interchangeable hands, a batarang, and a grapnel round out the accessories, and they all look fantastic. Now, the important question, am I glad I bought it? You bet. This thing is a magnificent collectible, and I can't imagine not buying any other Designer Series figures they come out with for characters that I like. Just look at how much this looks like Michael Keaton. The lips are exaggerated, of course, because it's a caricature, but you really do see Keaton when you look at this, and the details on the suit are really very consistent with the film. Even little nitpicky stickler details, like the particular bat symbol in the yellow oval on his chest, and how it's distinct from what came in Batman Returns and what we're used to seeing in a lot of comics. Sad to say, but that's the end of this edition of the Toy Show. Make sure you subscribe and ring the bell for notifications, that way you won't miss the next episode. And for comics news, reviews, and all sorts of other cool stuff, go to comics-now.com and follow us at Comics Nowcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.